Let's move on to our first main topic today. And our first main topic today gets sent in to us by Geeky Gator, who writes, Terminator Dark Fate is only just hitting theaters, and James Cameron has already come out talking about the clashes that he had with director Tim Miller. Doesn't seem like the best PR right before your movie is released. Why do you think Cameron said this? Is he trying to protect himself in case this movie bombs? All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And yes, Terminator Dark Fate is out as of right now. It hit theaters last night. I enjoy this film. It is, as you've heard the common refrain lately, it is the best Terminator film since Terminator 2. Again, not a high standard, but it is. It's an enjoyable film. A great film? No. But a good, solid, little enjoyable film. I had a very good time with it. I think most people, not for everybody will, but I think most people will. James Cameron, though, recently sat down and talked about the process of getting this movie made and revealing that him and Tim Miller did not see eye to eye on a lot of stuff. This is what James Cameron said. He said, when asked about how many clashes did he and Tim Miller had, he said, I would say many. And the blood is still being scrubbed off the walls from those creative battles. This is a film that was forged in fire. So yeah, but that's the creative process, right? I mean, my work with Robert, that's Robert Rodriguez, on Alita Battle Angel was very different. Robert loved the script, loved everything and said, I just want to make this movie. I want to make the movie the way you see it. And I was like, nah, you go make your movie. I had the reverse experience with Tim, which is Tim wanted to make it his movie. And I'm like, yeah, but I kind of know a little about this world. So he goes on to talk about that. Now, I believe the best thing to do when there is creative differences and clashes and challenges and stuff like that go on behind the scenes of a movie, that's where it should be left, behind the scenes. Leave it there. You don't need to air the dirty laundry. That's not good for anybody. That said, when I read this comment from James Cameron, I never got a sense that Tim Miller is my enemy. I never got that sense. And I think it was cleared up right off the bat when he said, right in the first bit of his statement, he said, that's the creative process. You know, like, look, great collaborators are not necessarily the ones, Rob, that will come together and just go, yeah, that's a good idea. How about this? Yeah, that's a good idea. How about this? Yeah, that's a good idea. Great collaborators aren't always the ones that just have a same hive mind and just agree on everything. Sometimes some of the most creative stuff ever done comes out of some tension. As an old biblical thing is, iron sharpens iron. But when iron is sharpening iron, it creates sparks, right? It creates friction. It can look a little violent. It can look whatever, but ultimately iron sharpens iron. So I personally, I got to say, I have no problem with James Cameron sharing this story. I think it's an interesting little bit of insight. Now, if he and Tim Miller were on bad terms, which clearly they're not, as a result of all this, well, then maybe I'd say keep this behind closed doors. But I think he was just telling a story about creative process. He had one experience with Robert Rodriguez, which he thought was a little bit too much one way. Like too much, oh yes, James Cameron, whatever you want to do, James Cameron. And then the other, which was a little bit more the other way. And I really think that's kind of cool to hear those stories as long as it doesn't get to the personal level. Like, Rob, I know you and I, but also, you with other people you've worked with, you also compartmentalize. Like, oh, we have a difference of opinion on a creative thing here. Okay, and we battle and we battle and we battle. And they go, okay, we've done battling. Now let's go grab a beer. Because, that's where it is. It doesn't always spill over into other stuff. So personally, I'm not surprised to hear two very creative people, one a legend in the business, had some creative conflict to, as James Cameron said, forge this movie in fire. I'm not surprised to hear it, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, to be honest with you. Rob, you hear something like this, and you've worked in these environments for a lot of years. What do you make of Cameron's comments?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. I think that I've been editing a film now, a feature film now, and while the stakes aren't nearly as high as they are with Terminator, you do have some knockdown, drag out creative battles in the editing room. But what's really interesting is that I think people that are really good at their jobs understand it's all about the good of the movie. What you have to be able to do is, your ego is part of it, but really at the end of the day, it's the film itself that will tell you what the answer to the problem is. And what you do is you try. I like to try things either way. And I believe at the end of the day, the film, it's self-evident. What works better? And I really think that it'll come out in the watch. And you do sometimes you have to, like, there's some blood on the walls, like Cameron says, and that blood is what gets you to where you need to be. And I certainly don't think that Cameron is saying that, oh, Tim Miller, I can't work with the guy. I think he's saying that Tim Miller is a passionate filmmaker. And remember, before James Cameron was involved with Dark Fate, Tim Miller was on the film before Cameron. And then David Ellison, and they brought him in. And of course, Tim Miller idolizes Cameron, and I'm sure he looked upon this as a great opportunity. And I think together, they made the movie what it is. I can only assume that the movie was made better by these creative battles they had in the edit bay. But I think you can do that, John. I think you can. Smart people can argue with one another, and knowing that you're arguing over making something that you all want to be good. You're all coming from that place. And Tim Miller and James Cameron are both guys who know what's good. They might have different opinions, but at the end of the day, they know what's good. And I think people can have those disagreements, and like you said, go out and have a beer at the end of the day. That's what professional, smart people can do.
Especially, I like the way you're alluding to. It's like, when I know that you and I may have a difference of opinion on what's going to make this movie the best it can be, but I always know that you want the movie to be the best it can be,
right.
And you know that I want the movie to be the best it can be. And when you both have that trust, then you can do this.
Yes.
And then you can do that creatively. And I like the way you put that a lot. Question here is, guys, what do you make of the comments, James Cameron? I personally see nothing wrong with it. I think it gives us a nice insight to the reality of the creative process. Some people are taking it as a sign of falling out. So what do you guys think about it? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.